Hello there, folks. I'm back again with another speed paint for you guys, and if my memory serves, this video should be coming out right at the start of fall, so happy autumn, everybody. I hope you're all looking forward to the nice cool weather. I hope you're all looking forward to Halloween. I know I sure am. At the time of recording, I'm already taking time to think about what my costume is going to be this year, or I guess more accurately, I'm thinking about what costume me and Hazel are gonna wear, because it'll be the first time in a while that we'll get to do a couple's costume. And while I haven't actually decided which costumes we're gonna go with yet, well, let's just say thinking about that gave me a lot of good drawing ideas. So today, you're gonna see me draw me and my girlfriend Hazel in the outfits of different Pokémon protagonists. So, without further ado, let's get started! First up, we have the games that started it all, at least for me and Hazel. It's Gen 3, Hoenn, Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. Well, our first games were actually the Emerald games, since me and Hazel were at that age that we were actually able to read a little bit by the time that Emerald came out. I have always thought of the Ruby and Sapphire outfits as being the most iconic. Even though the Gen 3 protagonists do have a lot of outfit variants between Ruby and Sapphire, Emerald, and Oros, my favorites are still the original. I just really like them, especially May's outfit, which has always been one of my favorites. Maybe it's just because she was a character in the anime, so I'm very used to seeing that character design, but I love the kerchief on the head, I love the shirt, I love the gloves, maybe the most of all. I just think it's such a good protagonist outfit, and what a gosh darn banger to be one of the first female playable characters in the series. Like, they really hit the nail on the head. I just love this character design. It's so outdoorsy, it's very cute, it's got a lot of fun contrast. And I love Brendan's design too. Obviously I like May's a little more, since that was the one I actually played with as a kid. But I love Brendan's outfit, I love the stripy jacket, I love that iconic white hat that makes it look like he's got white hair. I just think it's a very fun little design. And there's just something so iconic about the Gen 3 era of Pokemon for me and Hazel, especially because that's basically the era we grew up with. Obviously, Pokemon's been a part of my life for the whole time, basically. Like, all the eras are very iconic to me. But there's something special about Gen 3 for me and Hazel specifically, because it is so nostalgic for us, so it was the first iteration that I drew for this video. I based the background gradient in this actually on some of the marketing material that was used for Gen 3 at the time. There was this nice dark red and blue that they would use with a grid or with like these halftone dots that they would use in a lot of background things like brochures or like figurine guides or like the DVD menus for the anime. It was a very iconic look, and I just think it suits the vibe so well, since so much of Pokemon is about the combination of the colors red and blue. So I just decided to go with that for the background. It feels so Hoenn appropriate, it feels like such a throwback to that era of the graphic design for the company. Like, I just don't see them doing something like that kind of gradient, like, in the present day, so I just think it's kind of fun, you know? For the Pokemon I used in this drawing, I went with Trico and Linoone. I went with Linoone since it's one of Hazel's favorite Pokemon. I mean, she loves all the Hoenn Pokemon, but it's a classic long boy, so to speak. Hazel loves long creatures, whether they be fictional or real, so I thought Linoone was a really good fitting character to be with Hazel on this one. I also went with a shiny Trico here because a long time ago during the X and Y days, actually right before they announced Oros, I believe, for Hazel's birthday, hatched her a shiny Trico using the Masada method, and it has since not really done anything because Hazel doesn't play Pokemon nearly as much as I do. But I still feel like that Trico is pretty iconic. After all, our first starters were both Trico, so I thought it would be fun to do a shiny one here to kind of pay homage to that one I shiny hunted all those years ago, and to pay homage to our original Tricos that we used in our original Emerald save files. For these poses, I did very similar poses to the original official art. I didn't really change them up too much. Actually, this was the first one I drew for this video, so I didn't really want to change them too much, but I wanted to give Hazel in the May pose a little bit more movement instead of just having her stand there. That's part of why I gave her Linoone as a buddy as well, since I thought they would look good having a little bit of motion, Whereas I thought me standing still in basically the Brendan pose but with the arms swapped with Trico, I thought that would make a good contrast to have a static and a moving pose at the same time. You'll see that as a theme a bit with these. There's going to be one of us is going to be moving a little bit and one of us is going to be standing more still. So I thought that would be a nice little theme to do for this one. Interestingly, the way Hazel looks wearing the Mei outfit actually reminds me of the anime character Lisa, who you see in the third movie. She's in the opening and she battles Ash. She has a very similar kerchief to Mei, and something about her design just reminds me a lot of Mei's final design, so I kind of wonder if that character was a reference to what they were working on at the time with Gen 3. I'm not really sure. I don't really know how the lineup of the development lines up with that movie, but I just think it's pretty interesting that when you put a longer hairstyle with this, it suddenly looks like a very different character than it does with Mei, who has that short, more pointy hair. I'll try to put a picture up of Lisa on screen so that way you know what I'm talking about, because it's actually pretty interesting. I really wonder if she had anything to do with the beta designs for Mei. Overall, I'm pretty happy with this piece. It's probably my favorite of the three I'm doing today, even though I'm pretty happy with all of them. It's probably just my Gen 3 bias, and I had maybe the most inspiration going into this background as well, so even though it's very simple and very abstract, I feel pretty happy with it. I feel like it successfully hits that retro— oh my god, is it old enough for me to say retro? It hits that retro vibe for the Ruby and Sapphire days. Even if I didn't actually play Ruby and Sapphire, me and Hazel played Emerald instead. Next up, we have Hazel and I dressed up as the Johto protagonists, which again also have a bunch of options. You've got the original Gold and Silver protagonist, who was just the boy, but then you've also got Chris, and then you've got Ethan and Lyra in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. So there's a lot of options. I asked Hazel which outfit she would prefer to be wearing in this illustration, and while she wasn't a huge fan of either outfit personally, she ended up going with Chris. So that's what I went with for her here. I also went with the Heart Gold and Soul Silver Ethan outfit because I felt like it had a little bit more going on, and I just really liked the little, like, capri sort of baggy pants look. I thought it was a fun silhouette thing, so I ended up going with that. So technically these outfits are actually from two completely different games, but that's just how it goes. If you asked me as a kid what my favorite Pokemon region was, I would have said Johto. I love Johto, it's very fun. I love the old Japan vibe. I love all the Pokemon in it. Some of my favorites were introduced in this generation, like Chikorita, who you'll see in this illustration, and Xatu, of course. I mean, you can't be watching my YouTube channel without knowing how much I love Xatu. And I just think Gen 2 is really good. I think literally everyone in the fandom has a special place in their heart for Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and how fun and charming those games were, so I really wanted to capture sort of this, like, homey, chill vibe with this one. I don't have quite as much nostalgia for the Johto games as I do for the Hoenn games. Most of my experience and nostalgia relating to the Johto region actually has to do with the anime. I watched a lot of the anime as a kid. In fact, it was probably my main way of interacting with the franchise, actually. I didn't play the games as a child as much as I watched the anime and did art relating to the games. So yeah, so Johto has a special place in my heart, not because I played it a lot or because I saw the player characters a lot or anything, but mostly just because I liked the region, I liked the characters, I liked the Pokemon in it. So yeah, it's just a very unique way to be experiencing that region, and as a kid, that was the reason it was my favorite. If you were to ask me nowadays what my favorite region is, I think it would be extremely hard for me to choose. I mean, I really do like all of them a lot. I think up there for me nowadays would probably be like, obviously Johto's still up there, but I also really do like Hoenn. I really do love Sinnoh and the fact that it's got a cold climate. I love Unova. I love Alola, but every other region, like, I still like I really like all the different individual areas in Galar, especially like Balonlay and the Tangled Wood and the Crown Tundra, all have just immaculate vibes. Scarlet and Violet has a lot of really great areas too, like Area Zero completely stole my heart, so really every region in this entire franchise has my heart, but if you had asked me as a kid, Johto was my favorite, so thinking about Johto reminds me a lot of being a kid and how I used to interact with Pokemon very differently than I do now. So it was kind of nostalgic going back and trying to get this aesthetic going in a drawing. For the background of this one, I went for another gradient just like before, but this one more of a gold and silver, or I guess more of a cool gray and a warm gray if we want to be technical. I didn't want it to look too similar to the ruby and sapphire background I did, so I really muted it. And I also used a bit of a rainbow flare to kind of allude to Ho-Oh and its like prismatic feathers and stuff, and also just to give a little bit more noise and visual interest to the background. Oh, as a side note, you can see that Hazel's accompanying Pokemon in this piece is Cyndaquil. That is actually Hazel's favorite starter for this generation. Like, obviously mine's Chikorita, I love that little potato. But Hazel's a big Cyndaquil fan, and I think it's because Cyndaquil, once again, is a Pokemon that evolves into a bit of a long boy. Quilava's super duper cute, and Typhlosion, especially when it's relaxed on all fours on the ground, is very fun and long looking, so I think we would make for a very fun pair of rivals in a Johto game. Overall, I'm pretty happy with this piece. It's a little bit more simple than my Ruby and Sapphire, and I might say a little bit less inspired since I don't have as strong associations with the graphic design of this era, but I still had a lot of fun drawing it. I had fun with these outfits, especially since the Chris and Ethan outfits are very different and from different eras, so it was kind of fun trying to get their colors to relate to each other and seeing what they had in common and what was different between them. Overall, I had a lot of fun with this piece, and I hope you guys enjoy it as well. And of course, what would I be if I did Hoenn and Johto but didn't do Kanto as the third region here? I have a confession to make. I haven't actually finished a Kanto game. Yeah, I haven't. I haven't finished Let's Go, I haven't finished Fire Red Leaf Green, I haven't finished the originals, I haven't finished any iteration of Kanto except for maybe the post-game of Heart Gold and Soul Silver, but even then I never beat Red, and I don't even think I did the gyms in order. And, yeah, I know it's like blasphemy in this community to have not played Gen 1, right? Like, even though we like to make fun of people who only like Gen 1, like, we still like it. There's a lot to like about Gen 1. There's a lot of cool stuff going on with the story. The original 151 Pokemon are a very iconic bunch. But I don't know what it is, I've never been able to actually finish one of those games. Something always comes up in like my real life where I just end up falling off and I don't remember where I'm at in the game. Sometimes I feel like the story progression in Gen 1 is like really weird, where you have to do a lot of weird backtracking and trying to figure out what characters want, which can be a little awkward. And I think like the limited Pokemon selection in every iteration is a downside for me. Because in Fire Red and Leaf Green, you can't even evolve your Pokemon into any Johto evolutions. In Let's Go, obviously your Pokedex is limited to the 151 plus Meltan and Melmetal. And man, the originals are a bit scuffed, and I promise I will play them one day. I really do intend to actually do this. But I don't know, even though I love Kanto, and I've seen the original anime like probably at least a dozen times at this point, I just haven't finished it. I don't know. It's weird. Anyway, for this drawing, I went with the Fire Red and Leaf Green outfits. After all, it's the only games in the mainline series that I would say where you have the female character. To this day, I don't know. I'm not sure if I would call Let's Go a mainline Pokemon game. It's literally a spin-off of a spin-off. So, I'm not really sure if I would personally consider it a mainline game, even though the company considers it a mainline game, and everyone else at this point has surrendered and decided to consider it mainline. I'm not sure. To me, Let's Go is still a spin-off game, so I'm hesitant to call the main characters of that mainline Pokémon protagonists. Plus, I just thought it would be more fun for me to draw the Fire Red and Leaf Green outfits, and also the characters and their reference images are standing a little more still, so it's a little easier to actually see what they're wearing, as opposed to Let's Go characters who are moving around a little bit more in their official art. For the included Pokemon, I had Jigglypuff for Hazel, since Hazel loves Jigglypuff. She's played a lot of Jigglypuff in Smash, actually. I feel like that's always what I think of when I have her with Jigglypuff. And I've given her a bunch of Jigglypuff-related gifts over the years, so I feel like whenever I think of Hazel and a Gen 1 Pokemon, Jigglypuff is easily the first to come to mind. For me, I had a lot of options I was thinking about, but ultimately I went with Kabuto, because I love that little guy. He's really cute. He's just a sweet little creepy looking trilobite. And I don't know, I just think Kabuto's really cute, and I thought it would be fun to have him sitting on my shoulder, being all adorable and weird. I just think it's just a really cute little Pokemon and very underrated. Also, weird thing with the Fire Red and Leaf Green and character designs that I did not notice until I started doing this drawing. Why do they have baggy pants / web warmers? Why is that a common thing? Like, Red's pants and Fire Red and Leaf Green are so baggy. Like, I truly don't know why. At least the leg warmers, like, I feel like that's a regular texture leg warmers usually have. But I truly don't know why they bagged up my boy so much. It's so strange. Like, I don't hate it, but it's odd. Like, this is something I do to a lot of my character designs, but I usually cuff it a little bit so that way it looks a bit more like it's, I don't know, crimped? I don't know. It's just weird. I was just looking at that official art like, what? Why did they do that? I don't hate it, but it's odd. So, I had some fun drawing those baggy clothes because I think it was kind of fun, especially because there are tighter elements to the outfit, like the actual tops are pretty close to the body, but then the pants are very baggy, so I thought it was kind of a fun contrast. I do love how their hats contrast each other in these designs, by the way. I love the red with white and the white with red contrast, and I don't know, I think these designs are just such a good, like, mirror of each other. Like, you'd have to do a lot to convince me that Leaf wasn't an original character from the original Gen 1 games, because she really looks like she fits right in alongside the likes of Red and Blue. So, I don't know, I just think it's really nice. I promise I will finish a Kanto game one of these days. I don't know what it is with me, but I just find it really hard for me to do that. And one of these days I will do it. I promise I'll do it. And doing this was another great way to remind myself, like, I gotta get around, I need to do that, for my own sake, so I have the peace of mind that I've actually completed them. Overall, I'm pretty happy with this piece. I had a lot of fun with it. For the gradient for it, I went with, like, red and green theme, because, I mean, those were the original 2 games, and I thought it would make it more different than doing red and blue again, like Ruby and Sapphire. I really didn't want to step on that drawing's toes, so I went with a nice pastel sort of red and green vibe. It gives this sort of early spring energy to the piece that I think is pretty different from the other 2 pieces, and I think it stands out pretty well. And that is everything I have for you guys today. Did you all have a favorite illustration from today? I think my personal favorite is probably the Hoenn one. I just really like how the colors came out, and I genuinely think it would be fun for me and Hazel to dress up as Brendan and May for Halloween this year, so we'll see if that happens. It's up to Hazel if she wants to dress up like that. I would like to do more of these in the future. I want to draw me and Hazel as more Pokemon protagonists soon, but I really only wanted to do 3 for this video because, oh my gosh, this was already actually a lot of work for one video. So in the future, you can look forward to more art in this vein, but for now, that's all I've got for today. If you have any other ideas for a speed paint, please feel free to let me know in the comments below, so I'll write it down and add it to my to-do list. If you'd like to support me, I recommend checking out my Ko-fi page. It is probably the best way you can support me right now, and I believe that is everything I've got for you guys today. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next week, and get out there and make some art.